invasives in this area, and we just cleaned it out and get some sunlight to the forest floor, and frost seeded some clover in here this spring.
Great technique. I really love doing that.
Yeah, it worked out really well. Hi everybody, welcome to a bonus segment of Wild Wisconsin. So in the main segment we talked about a broader picture of what you can look for on your property. Here in this bonus segment we're going to look at things that you can actually do on your property to take those techniques to the next level, so to speak, and things you can do on your property. Just like this area that we were just talking about, you know, came in here and there was a lot of invasives, honeysuckle and buckthorn, and you know, a little bit of sore back and a little bit of sweat labor. And you can get in here and clear stuff out just with hand shears, hand tools, chainsaws, and I finish it off with renting a mower from your local equipment.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. I mean, just a prime example of not needing a huge tractor to work this up, and this is going to be a prime hunting spot. And the seeding that you did with this, that frost seeding, is just, I mean, literally having a hand seeder and going through, and you don't need anything real fancy, and it's coming up already. It's
the proof's in the pudding, right?
Yep.
And you know, when I came in and cleared all this stuff out and I mowed it, and it was, you know, came back with cocklebur and a lot of the annual stuff. So once you mow it, and then in the spring I just came in and, like you said, you looked at when you watched the video, just frost seeded in and let Mother Nature do the work, and now we have a clover spot right here.
Yeah. So in this segment we're going to talk about a lot what you can do on private land, and I know you really have done a lot of work on a lot of properties. What are some things that you look for and do?
So a lot of the things that I look for and try to accomplish. So I always tell landowners, try to figure out things that you can do on a Saturday afternoon. We all know that people are busy. We have lives, we have kids, we have softball, baseball, we all have that stuff going on. So what we want to make sure is that when you're working on these projects, you're going to be successful. You want to set yourself up for success rather than failure. So if you can come in here and accomplish a project in maybe an afternoon, three, 4 hours, then you feel good about that. You know, we've all heard people that say, we're going to go and plant 10,000 trees. And then the next morning, they don't want to plant 10,000 trees anymore because their back is so hurting so bad. So these little projects that you can do, one of the main ones is like this area right here, treating invasives, getting rid of some of that nastier stuff that you don't want, that's competing with the good vegetation in your woods.
Stuff, yeah.
So another one of my favorite things to do is work on trails. You know, your ins and outs are key when you're hunting. Not only that, but you get to enjoy your woods more if you have a mowed trail. Areas wildlife loves to use them. Wildlife, you know, deer especially, they love to use those trails. Another thing that I love to do is I love to go out, we talked about it in the main segment, is scout. So once I came in to scout, look, right here we have a plum tree right next to you. Right here standing in this, there's probably 5, 6 apple trees. Old apple trees that now I can take advantage of. So I went in and I pruned them. I took out the vines that were competing with them and made them more healthy, put in fertilizer spikes, just little things like that that are going to really reap the benefits in the fall. And all of these things, you know, they're not intimidating. These things that you can do with just hand tools and go out and, like I said, you know, get after it. And it's things that you can accomplish right now. And there's a program that you can tell us about?
Yeah, so like Matt said, a lot of it isn't intimidating, but I mean, just looking at property for the first time can be a little bit. So the DNR, we have a program called the Deer Management Assistance Program, and it's something where we actually can come out to your property or give you technical advice and help you out on a lot of these things. And it's a program that we're both very involved in, and we've met with a lot of landowners and really talked about a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, but focus specifically on their acreage. And I think people get a lot out of it because it gets their start on managing.
So what you're saying is that these things that we just touched upon, you can have me or you or your local wildlife biologist and a forester come out on your property and get you started in the right direction, working on this stuff that we're just talking about. Could you give us some examples of things you can look for, technical advice in the DMAP program?
Yeah, so I mean, we tailored a lot to the landowner. So when we meet with a landowner, we talk about their goals and kind of how long they've been on the property and what they're kind of looking for and what they think they can do, and we just help them out with that. So we come out on the property, we walk it with them, and we actually see what they want to do and we give them advice if we think that's a good idea, or if it's something from our own experiences that we just haven't had luck with and might be a waste of their time. And or we can just do it over phone calls too. So whatever's easiest for a landowner, we're just really out there trying to help.
So you're going to point out specific things like, hey, this is an invasive species. This is the impact it's having on your woods. These are the things you can do to take care of it.
Yeah.
And then we can showcase properties like this, that this is the end product of the things that you can end up doing.
Because yeah, I've been on a lot of site visits where the landowner's almost embarrassed that they don't know what tree is that, and well, it's not their profession. That's what we're here for. We're happy to help.
Yeah,
so.
And that intimidation factor, right? Like, I don't know what I'm doing, and that's where we're here to help.
So I get from a lot of landowners, they shoot a deer off the property every year, they don't do any management. I mean, well, why should they take these extra steps with just management and DMAP specifically?
Yeah, well, it's kind of that holistic approach, right? You know, it's being a steward of the land, it's taking care of things, it's passing it on to the next generation, so to speak. So not only that, but you're looking at leaving a legacy for the next generation of folks that are, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's your grandkids that are going to come and be stewards of the land.
You know, one good example I have is a lot of landowners, they have oaks in their property, and it's such a long-lived species, they're not thinking of 100 years down the road or even 50 years down the road, and their kids might not have oaks in the future if they don't do the management now. So it's a lot of forward thinking and really looking towards the future. All right, Matt, so we were talking about 3 to 4 hour projects, and we're on a DMAP property here, and we're standing in one of those 3 to 4 hour projects. What happened here? What was kind of the goal here, and what were the recommendations?
Yeah, so this is what I refer to as kind of the hub. So there's a large piece of woods that way, there's a large piece of woods that way, and this is kind of that center little island. The deer love to move through here. What I wanted to do is really bolster it for all the wildlife species that are frequenting the property. As you can see behind me, a lot of this stuff, this is what it looked like. You know, a lot of invasive species junk, quote unquote. So what I did is I came in with a mower, a brush mower, and I used my chainsaw to take out the bigger brush, stacked everything up, I cleared everything out, and it really just opened it up. And last year I just planted some winter forage, some rape, some turnips, and some winter wheat. And this spring I came in and I frost seeded it with clover. And this is a super area that I'm really looking at establishing into the clover. There's a lot of apple trees and fruit trees that are in this area, and that clover's nitrogen fixing, and it really helps the tree species that are here. And this over the course of time is going to continue to get better and better and better, and I'm looking to expand at treating more of these areas. But you know, this area was done probably 3 times of 3 to 4 hours. So, but look at all of this stuff. I mean, it looks fantastic. I'm very excited about it. It's an area that's really good for the wildlife, and I've harvested a turkey and a deer out of here. So
one thing I write in a lot of my plans is frost seeding. You mind explaining that since you did it here?
Yeah, so frost seeding is a technique that we like to use. In the spring, I come in right when the ground is freezing and thawing, and what that allows you to do is come in with a clover seed, which is very small, and you can just broadcast it across the ground.
Hand seeded, right?
Hand seeded, yep. Just get a hand seeder, broadcast seeder, and as that ground is freezing and thawing, it's nestling that seed right in there perfectly, and you don't have to work it up or at all. And that seed will just sit there dormant until it hits the right temperature, and it'll germinate and it'll start to grow. And I also planted that winter wheat last year, so it was growing up with it. So I mowed the winter wheat off, and now we have the clover here coming for the next generation.
So Matt, you mentioned chainsaw and brush hog, and that's something that not everybody is familiar with, those kind of tools, but in the DMAP program, that's just another thing that we can help out with and talk about using those tools for habitat management and just kind of just doing the first kind of stuff that comes to mind and really the basic stuff going forward.
Yeah, just to get you started, you know, using that smaller equipment, you know, a chainsaw or a power weed whip or a walk behind brush mower, so to speak. Those are things that can be intimidating, but once you learn that technique and once you get familiar with those, look at all this stuff that you can do. You can do tons of stuff on your property at that point. And not only can you just do all that stuff on your property, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's things that you can, you know, I bring my kids out with me, and, you know, they help me pile brush, and this is things that we can do as a family, and it's my time to get away. And just sit here and listen for a second, right? Very peaceful. This is my time to go back and work on stuff, reflect, and enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah. Getting you out on the land, and like you mentioned earlier, being a steward of the land, there's something to that. It's just kind of at peace while you're out doing it.
That's it. And not only that, but accomplishing these projects, you know, you're becoming more familiar with the land. you're learning the lay of the land, you're learning how the deer are moving, and you're kind of starting to think like a deer on that property. So you're getting real familiar with it. It's going to make you be a better hunter. Maybe harvest an extra deer, maybe get a chance at a really nice buck that you've been chasing.
Yep. Going back to this plot here, one thing I really like what you did here is you had an oak and you cleared around it and kind of enhanced it. And that's one thing I talk with a lot of landowners is just something real simple. And we were actually talking about oaks earlier as far as a real good food source. What was kind of your game plan here?
Yeah, in the main segment we mentioned to look for oaks, right? Red oaks, white oaks, and but that was my game plan. So in this area was a lot of natural food sources that were already here. We had apple trees, we had plum trees, and these are old growth trees that have been here for many, many years. I didn't have to do any of the work. I just get to reap all the benefits by cleaning them up and taking care of them. Same with this white oak. This white oak is an awesome producer of acorns, and I just cleared out around it, and what it's going to do is produce tons of food, not only in this area, but you're going to also have it with the acorn. So it's like a double whammy. Yep. So it sets up to be a really nice spot, and it has been so far. And I'm looking forward over the next 5 years on what this place is going to turn out to be. So when I meet with landowners, I always tell them I like to manage their properties or help them manage their properties like it was my own. Mm-hmm. Get out there, work on your properties, grab a chainsaw, grab a loppers, go out and just start working on stuff. And go check out the DMAP website and learn about some cool stuff there. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the DMAP website is a good place where you can learn more about the program, and you can also sign up for the program if it's something that interests you, because that's one big thing. A lot of landowners getting back to the intimidation. They get intimidated of, man, I got so much stuff to do. Well, if you have someone walk through the steps with you, and in a lot of cases we can write a plan for you that's almost like a recipe book, and it just kind of breaks it down into smaller chunks that we can help with, and it's not as intimidating. So I think getting out on land and getting help, and the DMAP program is a great way to get that help.
By creating that almost like a recipe, like you said, and you're breaking it down into those segments, it's easier to digest, right? You're taking a small little segment like we're talking right here, you get that accomplished, you feel good about it, you're like, check. And anytime you can check anything off in life, it gives you a sense of accomplishment. Then you can move on to the next one because you're already done here. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And I think that's a really cool approach that the DMAP program takes.
Yeah, it definitely helps not getting discouraged, looking at too much stuff, just one at a time.
So I would encourage you to take all these tips that we've talked to you about today and get out and enjoy your property. Mother Nature is a wonderful thing. We enjoy it every day. This is our job. But this is something we take a lot of pride in. I love to come out and work on the properties, work on the land. You get to see the fruits of your labor, so to speak. And in this instance, you have apple trees and plum trees and oak trees. But it's something that's very rewarding because you get to see it regrow. You get to see all of that stuff at work. And it's been very rewarding for myself, and I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's a 365-day-a-year thing. I mean, you're getting out there, and people will get all hyped up for the 9-day gun season, which is great, and there's a lot of tradition there. But if you can expand that, if you get so much fun out of that, expand it, and you're just out on the land more, and it's going to make your property more enjoyable, and it's going to be a better all-around experience for you.
And it's going to make you a better hunter.
Yep.
And a better hunter means you're probably going to harvest more deer. And it's going to be that much more fun.
Yep.
So thank you for watching another bonus segment of Wild Wisconsin.
I'll get outside.